Welcome to Future Foodcast. I'm Pam Linemiller, your host. I want to thank our sponsor, Farm to Plate. They are creating tomorrow's food business ecosystem in the food industry supply chain today. If you'd like to find out more, you can go to farmtoplate.io. We have a really unique guest with us today who's going to share about some cutting edge technology. We have Vincent Farrelly. He is the founder and CEO of Nisus Biotech. Welcome to our show, Vincent.
Hello, Pam. How are you? Thank you.
Glad to have you on. And first of all, let's start at the very beginning. What is Nisus Biotech?
Okay, well, Nisus Biotech is basically solving the issues of food waste in the drinks industry. And we take the food waste and we add value to them and use fermentation technology. So we founded Nisus there in the late fall of 2021. And we've been basically in stealth mode developing our technologies related to scale-up fermentation of the spent grains from the brewery industry.
Okay, so spent grains from the brewery industry, that's a problem?
Yeah, so, okay, it's a big problem. So for every liter, or the American equivalent to quart, that people drink, you generate 200 grams of spent grain. That's usually wet spent grain. Really, it's a low value product. It's often given to dairy cattle as an animal feed, but the brewery isn't making much money out of it. Indeed, sometimes it's a cost for them to dispose of it. Often in the summertime, the spent grain is not demanded by the farmers, so often it goes off and it spoils. And it's a real headache for the breweries in that they have to find ways to dispose of it, put it into a biodigester or to go to landfill. So essentially, it's a big problem in the brewery industry. With increasing environmental regulations both here in Europe and the US, the brewery industry is challenged in what to do with the spent grain. So rather than disposing of it or throwing it away, they're coming to us and asking us questions. Can you actually do something of value? Can you create something out of this? And we are developing solutions for them.
Wow. And then I imagine, I just think about the quantities here because breweries are everywhere. So
yeah. So where people like to drink beer, and it's not only breweries. It's anywhere in which you use grains to make alcoholic beverages. So that includes whiskey as well.
So distilleries too.
Distilleries, yeah. So the likes in Kentucky, they like their bourbon in Kentucky, so basically there is these spent grains. We're talking mountain quantities of these spent grains, and the problem is they're continuously made by the brewery or distillery on site, and it's a real headache for them. They want them off their site as ASAP, otherwise the whole thing just grinds to a halt.
Right. So you're trying to add value and give them something other than just this low value end product, essentially upcycle it somehow to add value to it. And I know that you're very technologically based, so you've applied some innovative technology.
Yeah, that's correct. So there's a number of different technologies we're using. It kind of falls under the general terms of valorization technologies in terms of add value. So we're using extraction processes, and we're using fermentation processes, and we're using specially trained fungi and other bacteria to actually that grow on these spent grains and associated liquid side streams, and they grow very, very fast, and they produce food grade protein. That's on which we dry. For example, we've got some here. Just hold up the screen here. So this is basically after 2 days fermentation on the liquid side streams from the brewery, and we've created here an edible mycelium biomass, and I'll show you. It's a neutral taste. It's about 20% protein, and we're working now with food companies to add this into their products as a replacement of soya protein.
Okay.
So,
Can I pause you there? Because if you are just listening to us on one of the podcast channels, you may want to watch this episode on YouTube, because Vincent just held up what the product is that he was showing you, this 20% protein that has a neutral taste, and he actually ate a piece of it. So I just want to let you know what I'm watching here while we're going through this. But so you might enjoy that. It actually is edible protein.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're using food grade fungi, and we have quite a different variety of different fungi that can produce neutral flavors, different textures, and different colors. And many of these fungi also have nutraceutical benefits for gut health, immune health. And we're working with a nutritional research group to demonstrate the value of these nutraceuticals, essentially, that we're creating, and what benefit they would have for gut health and for muscle development. So that's a side project that we have that we want to actually add. Not only are we going to be developing commodity protein as a replacement to soya protein, we also want to develop protein that has got special nutraceutical properties.
Well, I mean, this whole process and end product, you're hitting on several things that are kind of top of mind for consumers right now. Gut health is a big item out in the news. People are realizing the value of paying attention to their gut health. In addition to that, they're looking for different protein sources, not just the traditional protein sources. So you're answering a few of the trends and what consumers.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, how we approach this whole process is that we are developing a process that will actually scale, that will actually be incorporated on site to a brewery or distillery, that will be able to deal on a daily basis with the thousands of liters and thousands of tons of spent grains and associated liquids they have. We are looking at it from the point is that, our goal is basically to make breweries more sustainable, and also to be more economically run, and additionally to add value to their side streams. So what we're basically saying is that we have, with the technology that we're developing, has the ability to actually make proteins on site locally. So rather than kind of importing soya, which is every processed food product that you look at often contains soya protein, we're basically saying, can we actually make a more nutritionally and more sustainable and locally produced protein that could replace that soya? And that's what we're planning to do.
Yeah, on
scale.
You mean at the brewery? So
at the brewery. So basically, you can imagine the local brewery or distillery in your home county or your home state, and they're, instead of them producing this side stream that often becomes a waste stream, they're doing something of benefit to this, utilizing our process, that they actually can make a protein. They may not sell it directly themselves, but they may partner with local food companies in which they could use that protein in a broad range of food products. And we're talking quite a broad range of food products. We're talking about savory snacks to breads to be incorporated into alternative meat products. And indeed, also, we're also looking at the opportunity that this could be used as a replacement of soya protein for animal feeds as well. So there's quite a broad range of applications.
So this currently, though, I guess I'm just trying to help our audience visualize that spent grains right now is like a liability for the breweries and distilleries. They have to figure.
So you're correct. It's not only spent grains, but these spent grains are wet. They're often like, just imagine porridge. So they've got a consistency of porridge. They have about 50 to 60% liquid content. So they're sticky. They go off very quickly. So we're basically saying this is a really low grade side stream, often becoming a waste stream. Can you do something of value to this? And indeed, we want to be in a position that we actually create really high value products, such as proteins, but other bioactives that will enable breweries and distilleries to become more profitable. In addition to that, our process cleans up the process water. So there's an ability for the brewery and the distillery to actually reuse the process water back in their process.
Oh, wow. That's another benefit. That's really
Yeah. So you only can do that actually if you process the side streams on site.
right.
So other companies who are in the space, they take these side streams and they put it into a centralized facility. But essentially what they're doing is they're taking one problem from one place and putting it in another place.
And then you have the transportation costs of it from
exactly. So there's a for example, one distillery that we're working with, produces thousands, swimming pool sizes, 50 to 60,000 liters of liquid side stream a day. It costs them money to take this off. So you're talking about 5,000 truckloads a year to take this off their site. So imagine you could actually do this on site, not only make a valuable fermented product out of it, protein, but also clean up your processed water that has the potential to actually go back into your process.
Right.
And it's ticking a lot of the ESG boxes for these companies because they're under pressure to be more sustainable and also to have hard environmental impact benefits. Yeah. So what we're doing, it's a hard environmental impact benefit. We're solving a waste stream or a side stream issue that's often costing these breweries and distilleries money. And we're actually shifting that across their balance sheet to actually have the potential of generating some revenue out of it as well.
Right. Did you have some kind of process video that you wanted to talk us through?
Yeah. So there's a number of videos here I want to show you here. It'll just show you where these side streams are generated in the brewing and distillery process.
And for our listeners, if you could talk about the videos as
okay. Yeah, so what we're seeing here is we're in this short clip here, we're seeing after the brewing process is complete, you have these spent grain, wet spent grain, and that's been taken off the mash tank. And that then is normally put into a large silo and given to a farmer to feed his cattle. Now we're taking that contents and we're extruding the liquid out of that spent grain, and we're actually growing a fungi on it. Oh. And here is a picture of from our lab. We did some benchtop experiments with a broad range of fungi, and we've shown here that we can actually create structure of the mycelium biomass as it clumps and it grows. And here's another picture of a turbid solution from a distillery, and after we grow the fungi on this, it's a lot more clear. It has a chemical oxygen demand of reduced by a factor of 4. So what that means is basically this process has actually helped remediate or bioremediate these solutions, so they are less costly to further process, and indeed potentially they could actually be utilized back into the water could be utilized back into the brewery or distillery process.
Wow, that whole ability to recycle the.
So it's a circular. We're trying to create a on-site circular biorefinery process for that dovetails very well and accommodates the needs of the brewery and distillery client.
What are the challenges to doing that right now, Vincent?
Oh, there's a lot of challenges. This is not easy. This is definitely not easy. The biggest. There's a number. There's a technical challenges in how do you scale this up. Yeah. So we're comfortable we can do this at benchtop and at pilot scale. But above and beyond 1,000 liters, there's a lot of engineering required.
Okay.
So we're developing new types of fermentation growing systems for our fungi.
Okay.
So in addition to that, you have to figure out how do you actually integrate this onto a working brewery or working distillery site that you're not in their way and it doesn't cause any issues with their existing processes. Then we have the challenge of, once you make it, you have to identify who's actually going to, who your customers are for these fermented products, these proteins. So we're actively engaging with food companies and feed companies to demonstrate the value of our proteins as a replacement to soy.
Yeah. Well,
So
it seems like there is a market for it, for sure.
there is definitely a market, and what we're realistic in that, this has to work at scale. Very importantly, it has to dovetail in with the needs of our clients, and it has to be price competitive with the existing proteins already on the market.
Sure. Wow. That's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you want to tell us about this process? Or do you have any other samples to show us?
Oh, yeah, well, what we're looking at here is that, over the next 6 months, we have received some funding from the Irish government and some funding from accelerators, BIV and EIT Food Accelerator. And we're out there actively raising investment as well. And what we're busy doing now over the next 6 months is building a modular biorefinery that we can actually co-locate at brewery and whiskey distillery test sites.
Great.
And so that's going to be basically a 1,000 liter system. It's a small pilot. It's a drop in the ocean in terms of processing these side streams, but we demonstrate for the client the techno-economics of what it can do and how it can potentially scale up to 50,000, 100,000 liter systems. And that's the kind of ballpark that one is dealing with per day of side stream that one has to process per day in your typical medium to medium-sized brewery or distillery.
Right. And they're the ones that have the biggest pain points too, because they have more grain every day.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, they're onto the spotlight, and indeed, the consumer, their consumers are, they're responsive to drinks companies and food companies that are more sustainable and have locally produced proteins. So we think that this could be, I think this is the way forward. The ability to produce high value fermented products from existing underutilized side streams that are already produced by a client. Actually, where we see great potential is a food or a drinks company producing these side streams, and they can actually utilize the fermented protein being generated through our process back into creating new products for their customers. So you get a completely circular system being developed.
Yeah, that is great. And it sounds like becoming more and more viable, and you're going to be that out.
The mindset is changing. There's also there's economics here at scale. There's also food provenance and food security. So these are increasing growing issues. And in addition, there is the consumer, the growing consumer awareness and sustainability, and the more openness to evaluating new alternative proteins. Now, the great thing about mushroom protein or mycelium-based protein, and mycelium is basically it's part of the mushroom. That is that's more consumer acceptable than, let's say, other types of alternative protein that, let's say, insect protein. Your consumers are not going to be rushing to eat insect proteins in So we would say that mycelium-based protein is a logical alternative to soya-based proteins. And indeed, it's been shown to be superior, nutritionally superior than in most cases than soy protein.
Okay. Wow. Sounds like there's a lot of positives, and you're moving right along with all of that. I'm excited to see what the future holds. I appreciate you coming on Future Foodcast to share with us what you're doing at Nisus Biotech.
Thank you very much, Pam.
Yeah. And thank you to our audience for listening. If you'd like to hear more interviews like this, please subscribe and give us a comment. We'd love to engage with you. Until next week, I'm Pam Line-Miller.
Thanks for listening to Future Foodcast. Future Foodcast is powered by Farm to Plate, the leading food blockchain platform. Subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to stay up to date with the very latest innovations in the food industry.